So how can you be authentically happy? First of all, let me tell you what I mean by authentically happy. There are a lot of people in this world that say, oh, I'm happy all the time, and they go through all these stages of happiness, and I was one of those people. I used to think you could be happy all the time. But the problem you have is that the range of emotions you feel is about this much, when the real range of emotions is all the way here. By not letting negative emotions in, you're also stopping the more positive emotions that can actually lead to even more happiness. So by authentically happy, I mean experiencing all the emotions and allowing yourself to have true happiness and leading to true fulfillment. So what are the common problems with happiness? Let's start with a massive one, which is people who want to achieve something and then they think they'll be happy. This is a problem that happens throughout life. People say, oh, when I get my new job, I'll be happy. When I get my new house, my new car, when I have children, when I find my wife, when I do all these things, then I'll be happy. Now, the problem you have, we'll start with relationships, is that if you're not happy internally, you're going to look for something in someone else as a whole to fill a gap in yourself. And that means that your relationship is never going to be giving, because what's going to happen is you're going to be taking that from them and not being able to give to them. So you need to be centered, balanced, grounded, and happy yourself in order for you to both grow in a relationship. When we're looking into goals and when I achieve this, I'll be happy, and all these different scenarios, what happens is we're focusing on the destination. Now, if you focus on the destination, then you're never really going to get in touch with the journey, which is where all the fun happens. So here, instead of looking to achieve something and then I'll be happy, focus on the process and the journey. This is a problem that many people face, but you understanding it now gives you the ability to push forward through that and enjoy the journey. Next, not being present. Not being present is something that you see throughout life. For example, you wake up in the morning and you're thinking, oh, what should I eat for breakfast? You're eating breakfast and you're thinking, what's my first task at work? You're at work and then you're thinking, what am I going to have for lunch? And this process goes on and on and on throughout your day. So even when you're with your family, you're not with your family. You're not in the room. Your mind is elsewhere. Have you ever spent time watching yourself think? When you're next eating food, just watch your mind think about all these different things instead of what you're eating. By being present, I mean really enjoying the different moments that you have in life and really cherishing them. Because for many of us, we don't cherish the small things, so how could we possibly cherish the big things? Being able to be grateful for all these small experiences throughout your day allows you to become a much happier and growing person, because you're really taking in everything instead of living your life 30 minutes ahead. Another problem is people focusing on the negativity. So let me give you an example. If I said, how heavy is this cup? Some may say, oh, it's quite heavy. Maybe it's a cup. Now, if I told you to hold it for an hour like this, you'd probably say, yeah, it gets a little bit heavier. 24 hours, I mean, it would be very heavy. If I asked you to do it for a week, you would probably say that's ridiculous. But this is what we do with negative emotions every single day. We hold on to them. We don't let them go. We never let them pass through us. Now, by focusing on this negativity and just bringing it with you as baggage as you go throughout your day, you end up attracting negativity. One bad thing happens, or one person cuts in front of you in a queue, and you are just feeling terrible the whole day. And you're carrying this glass with you over and over and over again. Now, it's about letting it go and focusing on the positive, changing your perspective. So negativity and having your focus in negativity is something that you need to avoid at all costs. The last common problem is shutting out all emotions. Like I was speaking about earlier, there's a lot of people in life that don't allow emotions in. And I was one of those people, because as a man, it gets ingrained within you when you're younger, not to show emotions. Oh, toughen up. Oh, don't be a crybaby. Why are you showing emotions? Oh, you're gay? All these other things. And what happens is these get ingrained into your unconscious without you being consciously aware. So naturally, why would you show emotion with your partner or with anyone else? Because throughout your entire childhood, you've been forced to be a certain way. You don't really have access to that female energy inside you. For women, it's generally speaking much easier because they share emotions with each other, they listen to each other, and they share everything about their day. But guys, generally speaking, don't do this. Women often do have times where they don't share emotions as well, and they just block themselves off from their friends and only share the surface level things. So what I mean here is allowing emotions to come up and sharing them with the right people so that you're letting the emotions pass instead of suppressing them. What often happens is people keep suppressing emotions and then suddenly, bang, they just come out of nowhere. Someone that is always angry doesn't say anything, they suppress it, and then suddenly, poof, out of nowhere, they suddenly get furious. Women are kind of good at this when it comes to a small thing. So for example, if you were to leave something on the side or leave something around, what often happens is a woman could go berserk or a man may go ballistic. And why is this? It's because there's 3 months of all these little things that you've done, but you haven't both communicated with each other and allowed those emotions and expressed those emotions. So it's like a volcano getting ready to erupt. So what you have to do is allow the emotions through and let them pass. And don't get into the stage of saying, I'm an angry person, I'm this, I'm that, because you're associating with the emotion. You need to say that I'm experiencing anger. And by disassociating you, it allows you to experience the emotion and let it go. So then you've got this whole range of happiness and sadness. And in turn, by allowing you to experience all these range of emotions, you can choose what emotion to feel at the time. So you may be experiencing sadness, but that doesn't mean you need to be sad the entire day. You say, wow, I was experiencing a lot of sadness then. Interesting. And then you can move on to your neutral, happy, beautiful state that you're in, instead of getting stuck there. So we talked about a couple of the common problems. Now, let's talk about the solutions. So one of the things is perspective, by changing the angle. Have you ever noticed that you could go to the cinema with someone, watch the same movie, and have completely different ideas about who you liked, who you didn't like, and all these different things? And we often don't think about how this could really, really affect us. Just as an example, there was an experiment where people were given a hot cup of coffee and they were told to describe this person that they read about. And they would describe them as warm, a very kind individual. Other people in this experiment had cold water. And they then described the same person as cold, maybe inconsiderate, not really a type of person to bond with. And that's purely by drinking hot and cold liquid. Can you imagine the external circumstances that affect you and change your perspective in different things? So by understanding this, it allows you to take a step back and to think, okay, let me look at my life from another point of view, because we sometimes get stuck in our own lives. Something bad happens and we think it's the worst thing that could ever happen. You know, you lose your pen, you lose your car keys, and you just get so frustrated. But is it really that bad? If you put it in perspective and think, there are people dying in the world. There are people being shot at in all the different countries. And you're seriously worrying about losing your car key? Or forgetting like a stupid menial task and then getting annoyed for an entire day about it? But by putting things into perspective, it allows us to start becoming grateful. So by becoming grateful, what I mean here, I mean, often we take for granted things that happen over and over and over again. For relationships, what happens is they have an incredible time in the beginning, and the divorce rate now is so high because the challenges that they face, and they just forget the spark that they had because they don't do the same things in the beginning of a relationship as they do at the end. they take for granted everything that their partner does. Even at university with your friends or your work colleagues, you may have a time where you're not really being grateful for the little things they do. Making you dinner, giving you those things that you know you need at that time, or helping you out with a piece of work. We just expect it. And these expectations, if they're not met, makes us feel crap. So by not having these really high expectations and just being grateful for what you have, it allows you to really become much more fulfilled inside and a happy person as a result. So by gaining this gratefulness, it allows you to become aligned with your true self. So alignment is something that's really important for happiness, because a lot of people aren't really aligned. By this I mean in line with your values. So what do you really value in life? And by doing things day after day that are in touch with your values, you're becoming aligned, and then you're going to attract the right people. You're going to be at this fun, great frequency that others are going to pick up on. Because you often see, you can look at someone and think, oh, I don't want to talk to that person. Or you see a person surrounding you and think, wow, that person is in a good mood. That's cool. I would speak to that person. So by understanding this, being grateful, it will change your mood in more ways that you could possibly imagine. Next, being really present. So we spoke about this earlier about not being present, but being present with your family, your friends, your loved ones, with the connection you have with human beings around us. What often happens is we're now stuck in this place on our phones where we go through life over and over again just looking at these phones. And this means that you don't have the ability to really interact with other humans. Everything's in this 2D space. If you look at the trains, if you look at the tubes, everyone is on here on these 2D screens and never interacting with other humans. This interaction is of fundamental importance if you were to move forward and to really be happy and to really cherish the relationships you have. So what are the changes that you can make actionably in your life? Instead of talking about these big things, let's bring it into practice. So number one is being grateful. So by being grateful, there are 2 techniques that I've used that I found really helpful. So number one is every single night before you go to bed, write down 3 things that you're grateful for that day. That allows you to reflect and to think of things that you're actually really grateful about, instead of things that really aren't you and you don't really concentrate on them. So that's one. The other one is in the morning. I do this thing called priming by Tony Robbins. And the gratefulness part of it is you just think about it and take 3 minutes to yourself to think of 3 things that you're just incredibly grateful for. What is it that you are truly grateful for in your life? Next, let's look at being really present. Ask yourself at the end of each day, where was I present? Where was I actually in the moment and not off somewhere else? This allows you to really get in touch with who you are and become aware of everything around you and become the best version of yourself. The last thing is allowing negative emotions. By this, I mean allow negative emotions and experiencing them and then letting them go, because this allows you to experience the full range. So here, I'd like you at the end of each day to ask yourself the following question. Which emotions did I experience today? This allows you to become more in touch with yourself and allows you to look back and think, what did I actually experience today? By doing these, this will help you move forward and you can really become the happy, authentic person that you are. Because you're not affected by all these circumstances. You can be ingrained and happy right now. Thank you for listening.